America once believed the car could become almost anything, not just a way to move from one place to another. A living room, a music lounge, a rolling theater, a machine that opened itself, adjusted itself, entertained you, protected you, and made ordinary driving feel like a glimpse of the future. And during the 1950s, 1960s, and early 1970s, American automakers tried some ideas that now feel almost unbelievable. A record player built into a dashboard, a metal roof that folded itself into the trunk, a steering wheel that moved out of the way when you opened the door, push buttons instead of a gear lever, a rear window that rolled down like a hidden ventilation system, seats that turned toward the door, and headlights that could sense the road before the driver even touched a switch. Some of these ideas were brilliant, some were fragile, some were too expensive, some were simply too strange to survive. But all of them prove something important. There was a time when American car makers were not afraid to experiment. Today on Timeless Treasures, we are looking at the weirdest car features America thought would change everything. Not as jokes, not as gimmicks, but as strange little windows into an era when the automobile was still treated as a place for imagination. Because sometimes the future does not arrive perfectly. Sometimes it arrives as a button, a folding roof, a spinning record, or a seat that turns toward you like the car is inviting you inside. The first feature feels almost impossible today. A record player in a car. In the 1950s, Chrysler offered the Highway Hi-Fi, an in-car record player designed to bring real music into the cabin before cassettes, CDs, streaming, or digital playlists existed. At the time, this was a bold promise. The automobile was becoming more than transportation. It was becoming personal space, a place where families traveled, where teenagers escaped, where long highways created hours that needed sound, comfort, and atmosphere. The Highway Hi-Fi tried to turn the dashboard into entertainment. The problem was obvious. Cars move, roads shake, records skip. And the system required special records, which made it less practical than the dream suggested. But the idea was not foolish. It predicted something we now take for granted: the car as a personal media room. Modern infotainment systems, streaming music, premium audio, podcasts, and touch-controlled entertainment all come from the same desire. The driver did not just want to arrive. The driver wanted the journey to feel alive. Then came one of the most theatrical pieces of American engineering ever offered to the public: the Ford Fairlane Skyliner retractable hardtop. In the late 1950s, Ford built a full-size car with a metal roof that folded into the trunk through a complex mechanical sequence. The trunk opened backward. The roof lifted, folded, and disappeared. The car transformed itself from coupe to convertible like a showroom magic trick. This was not just convenience. It was mechanical theater. The Skyliner showed how far American automakers were willing to go to make a car feel special. It took the romance of a convertible and tried to combine it with the security of a hardtop. Today, retractable hardtops are familiar in certain luxury and sports cars. But in the 1950s, seeing a large American car fold its own roof into the trunk must have felt like watching the future move in chrome and steel. Of course, the system was complicated. It added weight, consumed trunk space, and required careful adjustment. But that is part of its charm. It was not the simplest solution. It was the boldest one. Another feature tried to change something even more basic: how drivers selected gears. For years, driving meant moving a lever, a column shifter, a floor shifter, something physical and familiar. But Chrysler looked at the dashboard and saw an opportunity: push-button transmission controls. Instead of shifting with a lever, drivers pressed buttons on the dashboard to select drive, reverse, neutral, or low gear ranges. It made the cabin feel futuristic, almost like operating a machine from a control room, rather than a traditional automobile. In the 1950s and early 1960s, this made sense. Buttons were becoming symbols of modern convenience. Elevators used them, appliances used them, airplanes used panels full of controls. Why not cars? The feature made the dashboard look cleaner and gave the driver a sense that the vehicle was becoming more advanced. Eventually, push-button transmissions faded from mainstream American cars. Drivers were familiar with levers, and the industry moved in other directions. But the idea never fully died. Today, many modern vehicles use buttons, rotary selectors, electronic toggles, or shift-by-wire systems instead of traditional gear levers. Chrysler's old push buttons were not just odd, they were early signs of the electronic control age. Then Ford gave luxury a different kind of movement, the Thunderbird swing-away steering wheel. In the early 1960s, the Ford Thunderbird offered a steering wheel that could move to the side when the car was parked, making it easier for the driver to enter and exit. It was a small idea, but a very revealing one. American luxury was not only about speed, leather, chrome, or power. It was also about ceremony. The feeling of approaching the car, opening the door, and being welcomed into the cabin. The swing-away steering wheel understood that entering a car could be part of the experience. Today, luxury vehicles use power-adjustable steering columns, memory settings, easy entry systems, and seats that move automatically when the door opens. The logic is the same. The car should adapt to the person, not the other way around. The Thunderbird did it with a physical motion you could actually see. It made the cabin feel thoughtful. Not because it was necessary for everyone, but because it treated comfort as something worth designing. Then there was the Mercury Breezeway rear window. This was one of those features that sound simple until you understand the world it came from. Before modern climate control became expected, airflow mattered. Vent windows, open side glass, roof lines, and cabin pressure all shaped how comfortable a car felt in summer driving. Mercury's breezeway design allowed the rear window to roll down, bringing air through the cabin in a distinctive way. It gave the car a strange and memorable personality. From the outside, the rear glass and roofline were instantly recognizable. From inside, the feature promised fresh air without simply opening every side window. This was old-school comfort engineering. Not digital, not hidden in software, physical, visible, mechanical. The breezeway did not become the universal future of automotive ventilation. Air conditioning improved, body shapes changed, and the feature became more of a fascinating memory than a lasting standard. But it still matters because it shows how creatively automakers once approached comfort. They did not only ask how to cool the cabin, they asked how air should move through it. Another feature turned the act of entering a car into a small performance. Swivel seats. Chrysler and other American models experimented with front seats that could rotate outward to help passengers get in and out more easily. Instead of forcing the body to twist into the cabin, the car brought the seat toward the person. Again, this was more than a gimmick. It reflected a period when American interiors were generous, theatrical, and deeply concerned with the feeling of comfort. Big doors, wide seats, bright upholstery, chrome accents, and clever movement all worked together to make the car feel like a personal lounge. Swivel seats were especially interesting because the idea was practical and dramatic at the same time. They helped entry and exit, but they also made the car feel alive. Today, rotating seats appear in some vans, mobility vehicles, and concept interiors. As autonomous and lounge-style vehicle concepts evolve, the idea of seats that move, turn, and reconfigure does not seem so strange anymore. Once again, an old American feature looks less ridiculous when the future catches up. Then came a feature that moved beyond comfort and into early automation. The GM Autronic Eye, and later related automatic lighting systems like Twilight Sentinel. These systems were early attempts to let the car sense light conditions and respond. The Autronic Eye could help dim headlights when it detected oncoming traffic, while later systems helped manage headlight operation in changing light. To modern drivers, automatic headlights feel ordinary. Many people never touch the switch. The car senses darkness, tunnels, weather, and ambient light, then responds. But in the 1950s, the idea that a car could watch the road and make a decision for the driver was remarkable. This was not just a convenience feature, it was the beginning of a deeper shift. The automobile was no longer only obeying direct commands. It was beginning to interpret the environment. That idea now defines modern driving. Automatic headlights, rain-sensing wipers, adaptive cruise control, lane systems, blind spot warnings, and driver assistance technologies all come from the same broad principle. The car senses, then reacts. The Autronic eye was primitive compared to modern sensors, but its ambition was enormous. It suggested that the car could become a partner in awareness. Look at these features together, and a pattern appears. The Highway Hi-Fi tried to make the car more entertaining. The Skyliner tried to make the body transform itself. Push-button transmission controls tried to simplify mechanical command. The Thunderbird steering wheel tried to make the car welcome the driver. The Breezeway rear window tried to control comfort through airflow. Swivel seats tried to make the cabin more human. The Autronic eye tried to make the car aware of the world outside. Different ideas, different levels of success, different reasons for disappearing, but all built from the same belief. The car could be more comfortable, more intelligent, more theatrical, more personal, more connected to the way people actually lived inside it. That is why these strange features deserve respect. Not every experiment needs to become permanent to be important. Some ideas fail because they are too complicated. Some fail because they arrive too early. Some fail because the technology is not mature. Some fail because buyers simply are not ready to change their habits. But failed features can still reveal the imagination of an era. And American car design once had a powerful imagination. It was not afraid of moving parts. It was not afraid of chrome buttons, folding roofs, unusual windows, rotating seats, or mechanical systems that made passengers stop and watch. Modern cars are often more efficient, safer, and more advanced, but many also feel more cautious, more standardized, more afraid to be strange. That is what makes these old features fascinating. They remind us of a time when automakers were willing to risk awkwardness in order to create wonder. Some of these ideas disappeared. Some returned later in more refined form. And some remain beautiful dead ends. But all of them carry the same message. Innovation is not always clean, perfect, or immediately useful. Sometimes innovation looks weird first. Sometimes the future arrives wearing chrome, vinyl, glass, and a button no one expected. If these forgotten features made you see old American cars differently, subscribe to Timeless Treasures and tell me which one deserved a second chance.